Hello, this is the video 3 when we finish off elasticity. Yeah, I'll just get straight into the slides. And this is where we look at another sort of way of conceiving elasticity. And that's so if you think about it, um, you know, if you like let's say you have a business and you say, okay, we're not doing so well. um, if I lower my price, will I make more revenue? So in theory, yeah, if you lower your price, you're going to make obviously you're going to have more sales, but will you have more revenue? That's an interesting question. And the answer is, like all economic questions, it depends. And it depends on the elasticity, the price elasticity of demand of your particular product. Because a rise in price or a lowering of price doesn't always increase total revenue. Because, let's just work it out. So so basically, uh, if demand is elastic, so that means if it moves a lot with a small change in price, a 1% cut increases the quantity sold by more than 1% and total revenue increases. So if you've got a very elastic product, so it means that, if you put your price up with an elastic product, you're going to lose a lot of business, but it also means if you put the price down, you're going to gain a lot of business. One of the definitions of elasticity is if you put the price down, your revenue goes up. But if your demand is inelastic, because it's one for one, unit elastic, a 1% price cut increases the quantity sold. So sorry, in the unit elastic, I'm just doing the one at the bottom. 1% price cut increases the quantity sold by 1%, and total revenue remains unchanged. So it's a bit pointless. But if the demand is inelastic, so a 1% price cut increases the quantity sold by less than 1%, total revenue decreases. Now, if you think about it, if you've got an inelastic product and you're not going to gain customers by lowering the price, and you're not going to particularly lose customers by putting up your price, you might as well put up your price. So you've got these three sort of different cases. So let's think about them in graphical terms. So that leads to the total revenue test. So it's a way of estimating the price elasticity of demand by observing the change in total revenue that results from a price change. Because remember, the revenue of any business is the quantity sold times the price. Now, as you lower the price, so that equation is going to change along different prices, because at different prices there's going to be different quantity demands. So if a price cut increases total revenue, demand is elastic. If a price cut decreases total revenue, demand is inelastic. If price cut leaves a total revenue unchanged, demand is unit elastic. So it's another way of working out, whether something's elastic, inelastic, or unit elastic. Um, so let's think about it. So here we have the relationship between elasticity of demand and total revenue. So let's imagine we're in the same situation, same graph as we've been looking at before. This is pizzas per hour, how they change as you move along the price, say from $25 to $12.50. And so there's going to be different revenues, because at different points there's going to be a different price, because remember, your revenue is price times quantity. There's going to be different prices and there's going to be different quantities. So P and Q are going to be changing. And so we could graph the revenue. Now, generally, obviously, if you were selling zero pizzas, you would get no business. You would get no business at all, because you'd have no revenue. And if you were, basically, if you tried to sell, sort of lots and lots of pizzas, that means your price would be sort of two. You can only sell 50 pizzas by selling sort of zero. So at both ends of this, you'd have sort of zero. But really, the sort of top sort of revenue would be about $300, and as it's elastic, you would be able to increase the price up to that point. Because remember, along the line, it starts off elastic and then becomes inelastic. So basically, you're going to get to a point where it's going to be elastic, elastic, elastic. So you might as well keep putting down the price, and that's going to cause your revenue to go up until a point where actually, as you start to raise the price, it starts to have a negative effect on quantity that your revenue goes down. And so that's the point. The top of this graph here is where it moves from being elastic to inelastic. So the very top of the point, it's unit elastic, that this is the revenue against the quantity of pizzas. Okay, so because remember, we've got this graph where along this straight line, it's elastic at the top, unit elastic in the middle, and inelastic at the bottom. And so that corresponds to the graph where from 0 to say 25 pizzas, it's just elastic, and so you drop your price up to that point, and that's the point where your revenue is maximized. But after that, that's that unit elastic point. Your elasticity becomes more inelastic, so there's no point in dropping your price. Okay, and so it's at that point at 25 pizzas that your revenue is maximized. And so this is just another way of conceiving elasticity. If the point, at whatever point along your curve, your demand curve, as your revenue is rising, that's the elastic portion. As your revenue is falling due to price cuts, that's your inelastic part. And that's just another way of seeing if product is elastic or inelastic. And so this is this graph. Try and it may take you a little bit of a while, but see how this graph, which is revenue against quantity, relates to this graph, which is price against quantity, because we know that revenue and price and quantity are intermingled because revenue is price times quantity. And if you're having trouble with that mathematics, let's maybe talk about it early on Tuesday morning, or after class on Tuesday. So we can tell if a particular product is generally sort of elastic, and obviously it's going to be elastic or inelastic at different points of the line, by seeing what happens to the overall revenue, and at different points of the demand curve is going to be different. And then ultimately you can think about this. This is a slightly different sort of conception, but you can think about it about how you respond to prices. If your demand is elastic, a 1% increase in price if something suddenly goes down, and think about there's certain products when you look at them and think, oh, they've gone down a bit, you're gonna, let's say they go down by 10%, you want to buy 20% more. That means your demand is elastic for a product. But if, say, it goes up by 10% and you think, oh, I may buy, like, say, more 5% more, that would be inelastic. And then 10%, let's say it goes down by 10%, you buy 10% more, that's unit elastic, and so your demand doesn't change. And so, this is just another way of conceiving the same idea. And the way we think about it, when we, in a way, this is a way of just summing everything up, everything that we've learned. That if the situation is perfectly elastic, the magnitude is infinite, the smallest possible increase in price causes an infinitely large decrease in the quantity demanded. If something is elastic, it's less than infinity, but it's over one. So a percentage decrease in the quantity demanded exceeds the percentage increase in price. So basically, an elastic product is if there's a small price change, there's a big change in buying behavior. If something's unit elastic, there's this 1-to-1 relationship. If something's inelastic, it's less than one but greater than zero. That even if they put their price up, you don't, or really change your behavior. You don't buy more. Even if they put their price down, that you don't tend to buy an awful lot more. That's a more inelastic product. Okay, when it's perfectly inelastic, it's zero. The quantity demanded is the same at all prices, and that's very, very rare. Okay, so that's it for this week, and there may be a few questions about other types of elasticity, but just try and do them the best you can, because it just make me think about the sort of concepts. But the real key is knowing price elasticity of demand, because that's what's going to be on the exam. So hopefully you'll get through this week. Sorry that I haven't been able to appear in class, but enjoy the snow, and hopefully I will see you on Tuesday. I'm definitely on the mend, though I'm not fully better. Okay, see you.